Okay.
You're not on turn at all, but
Oh.
just on
Okay. Okay. Well, first of all, I'm just gonna give you a warning. Our next talk is gonna be pretty amazing. But before I introduce the person, I'm going to read the scripture. Now Jesus did many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book. But these are written so that you may come to believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that through believing you may have life in his name. And that's the gospel according to John 20:30-31. Okay, so our next speaker is Leslie. And if y'all don't know Leslie, most of y'all probably do, but Leslie is an amazing young lady. And her personality, she's always bubbly and she's always smiling. And Leslie's an example to all of us. She really shows Christ in her everyday life. And I really hope that y'all will pay attention to her words and they'll really mean something to you. So give it up for Leslie Patterson. You're welcome.
Okay, let me get situated here. Hold on. Okay, got some stuff. Let me fix this up. Got my note cards and my cross and everything. Okay, so how's it going? Pretty good? Discovery pretty decent? It's okay? Yeah? I like it too? Pretty good? Yeah? Okay, well I'm going to talk to you about this thing. If you don't know what this is, you're probably in trouble, but it's the Bible. So, okay. My talk is the Bible talk. That doesn't mean, oh grown, I have to listen about the Bible for the next 5 minutes. This is, hey, the Bible is really cool and I want to learn about Jesus. The Bible is something we need in everyday life. We're all Christians, so we know that we need this special book to learn what we need to know. This book has rules, stories, poems, and much more. Our job is to get as much as we can out of reading it by listening to sermons, reading it, and discussing it. It's not exactly a rule book. It's more of a way of life. Sure, the Bible gives you rules, but not every sentence is a rule, and not every sentence is literal. It's our job to find the rules that we need to follow. Take the 10 Commandments, for example. That is a set of rules that need to be followed by Christians. Although some are difficult, they help guide us to live a strong Christian life. For me, I have a hard time following what the New Testament tells me to do. It has so many different stories that so easily relate to my life. It tells us to turn the other cheek. How hard is that? I have the most difficult time with that. I'm sure most everyone has that problem. How often do you see a fight break out, whether it's physical or verbal, and someone throws the first punch, and the receiving end just stands there and lets it happen? Not often. If someone says something rude to me, I have a really hard time not talking back. But we need to do that. Think of the stories about Jesus. He was taken to be killed because people simply didn't like him. And he asked God to still forgive them, for they did not know what they were doing. Another one is love your enemy. That's a toughie. The Bible tells us to love the people that have been terrible to us. Not only do we have to turn the other cheek, but we have to love them too. That is so hard for me. Titus chapter 3 verses 1-2 tells us, remind them to be subjects to rulers and authorities, to be obedient, to be ready for every good work, to speak evil of no one, to avoid quarreling, to be gentle, and to show every courtesy of everyone. I personally have to read this kind of scripture every day to remember. I've sinned. I've done wrong. But the Bible helps me to know what to do and what to pray for every step of the way. We take the Bible for granted. I know it's there. I know I need to read it more, but it's hard. Sometimes I think that it's enough just to go to church on Sundays and Wednesdays. It's not. We have to read the Bible religiously, pun intended. It is always there. We just have to pick it up and read it. But sometimes it's hard to remember. I have one by my breakfast table for a morning devotion and one by my bed to read a chapter a night. I'm on James, but hey, every little bit helps. The Bible is there for a reason, to help us learn all about God's life in the world and God's people. Tucker told us that we had a privilege, to be made by the same creatures as Jesus Christ, and we want to learn about his life and how we can follow his example. It's kind of like a family album. It has God's family and people in it, just like the family album might. It has stories and poetry in it too. And read it just like you would a newspaper. It's like where you go to the different sections. In the paper, you read the local news section, the sports section, the living section, and much more. The Bible works just like that. There are different sections in the Bible too. You just have to know what to read. The Bible is something we need in daily life. We need to read it a lot. It's full of rules, stories, and poetry. Read it often enough so you know the rules to become a good Christian. Turn the other cheek. Love your enemy. Do what he has called you to do. Don't take it for granted. Remember to read it as much as possible. We are part of the family album. Read our family story. I'm done.